Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we are going to do a Game Week 7 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, the series where we look at some transfer trends and kind of decide which ones are the good ones and which are the bad ones, basically. And although my season hasn't been going fantastically so far, we have been pretty spot on with most of our buy, sell, keep, avoid picks, which is really good. So maybe it's time I start taking my own advice a little bit more and start, using the information from my own videos, maybe to make my FPL decisions. But guys, if you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like. It really does help out the channel so much. And do subscribe if you are new around here as well. Now, before we go any further, I want to talk about FanSlide, the world's first live in-play fantasy football game. The best way I can describe it is as if an entire season of FPL was condensed into just 90 minutes. You can pick the game of football you want to play on, choose 3 players you think will perform well in that match, and slide them in and out of your team throughout the match to try and catch them at their best. FanSlide is completely free to play and there are even prize leagues you can join and win a little bit of money. I actually hosted a few prize leagues over the last couple of weekends, so do make sure you're getting involved in them. There are also pay-to-play leagues too with larger prizes if that's your kind of thing. If you have that money to you can afford to lose and you kind of fancy yourself, you can get involved in them. So if you're over 18 and you want to give it a go, those in the UK can click on the link in the description. That will put you straight into my free-to-play league group. If you're outside the UK, you can still join. Just search FanSlide in your app store on your phone and you can join my group using the code UT8WF. I will be playing over the next few game weeks. I've already been playing the last few game weeks, so make sure you're getting involved. See if you guys can beat me on FanSlide. Right, onto the rules of buy, sell, keep, avoid. So buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking about removing. I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now. I think they are potential traps that maybe, just maybe, we should be thinking about not going for them after all. So let's start off with some buys, 2 in each category. Let's go. Alright, so my first buy for Game Week 7 is going to be Leandro Trossard. Now, this is a player who is a good in the kind of short term. I know a lot of you guys are planning wild cards very, very soon, maybe in Game Week 8 or Game Week 9. And I have to say, the next 2 fixtures look pretty good for Trossard, particularly this Game Week 7 fixture. So a lot of you guys are going to be wanting to go in on some Brighton players. Brighton are just playing so well at the moment, and they have this really nice, easy fixture. You know, the Bournemouths and the Nottingham Forests and maybe even the Leicesters as well. These are kind of teams that should really be targeted right now with our attackers. So let's actually do that. Well, let's actually go for that. And Trossard, I would say out of all of the Brighton attackers, Trossard is kind of looking one of the more promising ones. So obviously in the last 5 game weeks, he scored 2 goals and got 2 assists as well. His underlying numbers are pretty good. So despite the fact that sometimes he's been playing as a left wing back, he also has the potential to play as striker. He has been playing as a striker, as a forward in a couple of games for Brighton as well. And he's continually proven to be one of Brighton's most attacking players, no matter where he's playing on the pitch, which is really good. We know he's a really good quality player as well. And you know what I like the most about Trossard? Like, FPL aside, he's just an exciting player. He's just a super exciting player to watch. He's just really skillful and he just gets me up on my feet. And if he's in my FPL team as well, I'm not just on my feet, I'm up in the air trying to watch this guy, because honestly he's just absolutely crazy quality. We've seen his numbers in some of the previous seasons, particularly in previous leagues he's played in, and this season he is really coming into his own a little bit. And Brighton are just so good right now. I just think we need to be investing in the Brighton attackers against these kind of weaker teams, because again, we could see another 4-goal game from Brighton, maybe even 5 goals. I can really see that coming. And if it does, then Trossard is going to be involved in, at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 of those goals, because you would probably say he is their best attacker, really, wouldn't you? My next buy is actually going to be Diogo Dalot. So I was trying to think today, let's try and pick a defender, because I very rarely put defenders in buy, sell, keep, avoid videos, and I wanted to kind of think of a cheaper defender, or just any defender really, to be honest. But I know a lot of people are trying to jump away from the big at the back. Like, big at the back is just not really working too well, is it, at the moment? Like, those expensive defenders just aren't really doing the business, and a lot of you guys are looking to downgrade and spend your money elsewhere rather than investing too much in the defense. So yeah, Diogo Dalot looks to be, in my opinion, the best cheap defender to go for right now. And people say that I don't like Manchester United players. Well, it's not always true. If a good one shines through, then it absolutely does. Dalot is obviously playing as a fullback, so 4.5 million is always really good value for a fullback as long as they are nailed on. And when you find a player like that who is playing for one of the stronger teams of the league, then that's very good. Manchester United do seem to have sorted themselves out a little bit. They've kept as many clean sheets as Arsenal. 2 clean sheets in the last 3 game weeks, which is really good. I think they've only conceded 2 goals in the last 4 game weeks as well. Since that Brentford game, they've only conceded a couple of goals. So look, they are sorting sorting themselves out. Like, this is good. This is positive news for Manchester United, and I'm sure Manchester United fans are very excited. And now it's time to see if we can find any bargains, any value in some of their players. Now, we know also that we have some good fixtures coming up from Manchester United. Crystal Palace away, I think, is a fairly decent fixture for a defender. I don't think Crystal Palace scored too many goals. It's basically Zaha or nothing, right? And then we've got Leeds at home after that, and we've got Everton away in a few game weeks' time as well. And the great thing about Dalot at 4.5 million is you can afford to bench him. You can afford to rotate him in those difficult games, such as in game week 9. So I like him. His underlying numbers are good. He's shown to be very, very creative. I think he's going to work and combine very well with Antony on that right-hand side, or whoever else is playing there, depending on what game week it is. And yeah, he's actually had, it's not going to show on these stats because I've only put the stats for the last 5 game weeks, but in game week 1, he actually had a few really good opportunities to score as well. So we know he can get in those dangerous areas and take some shots as well. So yeah, lots to like about Dalot, particularly for his price point and particularly for an improved Manchester United team. This is a good time to jump in on some of those cheaper players whilst not too many people are thinking of them. Let's get ahead of this. Let's get on this fairly early, I think. Onto some sells, and I've got Perisic here. I would say that out of all of the premium defenders, I find it difficult to let go of a lot of them right now, but Perisic I feel like I'll be more willing to part with, just because this next game is against Manchester City, and then even after that, I look at some of these fixtures. Leicester, you know, although Leicester aren't great defensively, they are a team that can score goals against you, and that's not so good for a defender. And then Arsenal away after that, and even after that, we've got Brighton as well. So yeah, Brighton are in such good form. I just kind of back them to score against most teams at the moment as well, especially that's an away fixture as well. So yeah, I'm looking through these fixtures and I'm kind of wondering, is Perisic going to pick up many points across these few game weeks? You also have to consider that Spurs are going to be playing European football in the midweek. They're going to be playing in the Champions League. Is Perisic going to be prioritised in the more difficult Champions League games? Quite possibly. I can't see Perisic playing twice a week, so I think his minutes, now the Champions League has started, now we do have these more difficult fixtures, I think Perisic's minutes may be limited just a little bit. And also, I think we just have to kind of accept that maybe Perisic is not quite as attacking as we thought he would be either. Like, I know he is still, you know, charging up the pitch and getting right up there, but he's only taken 1 shot so far this season, which is not really what we want at all. He is making some key passes. He is, like, creating a little bit, but yeah, I think that's partially down to the set pieces that he's taking, but yeah, he's not shooting as nearly as much as I hoped he would. So, bad fixtures, potential for rotation with the congested fixtures, and maybe not quite as much of a shooter, a striker playing in defence as we thought he would be. Might be time to take the L on this one and get rid of Perisic. Next sell is going to be Salah. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to, for the first time, possibly ever, I'm going to put Salah in the sell category, and just hear me out, guys. And first of all, like, if you want to keep Salah, if you're not quite willing to take that risk of removing Salah, I do completely understand. But I just want to give you a pitch, basically, of why Salah may actually be a sell, and if nothing else, it makes for some interesting discussion, it makes for some interesting content, even if you guys aren't actually going to sell him. But hear me out. So, over the next not just 4 game weeks, because even in game week 11, Liverpool actually play against Manchester City. In the next 5 game weeks, when are you going to captain Salah? Now, Wolves have only conceded, you know, a few goals this season. They have never conceded more than 1 goal in a game, I don't think, at least not since game week 1. And they are looking actually like a fairly rigid defence. You know, far more rigid than Everton, for example, which kind of Liverpool did, well, struggle to score against, couldn't score against. After that, we got Chelsea, Brighton, whoever, you know, a good team, Arsenal, Man City. Which game week across these games are you going to captain Salah? Probably none of them. And if you've got Haaland in your team, you're probably going to captain Haaland in every single one of those game weeks. Maybe not game week 8, because I think Spurs do play Leicester in game week 8, so maybe Harry Kane is a good one to go for in game week 8. But look, Salah is not really captainable. And what I always say about these premium players, these, you know, really, really expensive players, is what gives them their value is the fact that you can captain them. Now, is Salah going to score, you know, like Luis Diaz, for example? You pay, you know, almost twice as much for Salah versus Luis Diaz. Is Salah going to outscore Luis Diaz by 2 times? Is he going to, you know, outscore Nunez by, you know, 2 times or 1.5 times or however you want to look at it? No, he's not going to score that much more than these players. But what gives Salah that value is when you captain him, you get twice as many points from Salah. So you know, he's basically worth double because you can captain him. So he gets double the points, so he's worth, you know, double the amount. If you're not going to captain him, then he's not really worth it. like, he genuinely is not really worth it, in my opinion. I think you can downgrade him and kind of spend some money elsewhere. Now, when we look at the premium options right now, a lot of the other players are outscoring Salah. So, you know, especially if you look at the underlying stats. In terms of underlying stats, Haaland is obviously better than Salah right now. So is Harry Kane. So is De Bruyne. You know, Sterling is not far off Salah as well, and he comes in at 3 million cheaper, so maybe that's a downgrade worth going for. Basically, what I'm saying is that the other premiums are doing better than Salah right now, and I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that Salah's role has kind of changed, particularly when Darwin Nunez is in the team. Darwin Nunez becomes the focal point rather than Salah, and it's always been Salah being the focal point of the Liverpool team, so you always knew that he was going to take plenty of shots in those dangerous areas. But we're kind of seeing over the last 5 game weeks, Salah is making more key passes than he is taking shots. And these key passes aren't even leading to good, you know, actual goal-scoring opportunities because he's playing so wide. So, you know, we're talking about crosses, we're talking about passes creating not even half chances. You know, the chances he's creating are of low value as well. He's not created any big chances at all since game week 2 anyway. He's got 1 goal, he's got 2 assists. That kind of almost matches up with his expected stats as well. So it's not like he's underperforming and it's kind of unexpected that he's underperforming. And the XG as well, most of that XG was from that Bournemouth game where he missed 2 sitters as well. I just think, like, finally, I think I've got to a point where I have to say Salah is not worth the money you pay for him. And if you can swap out Salah, you know, swap him for a De Bruyne, swap him for a Harry Kane, swap him for a Raheem Sterling, maybe that's worth it. You know, Sterling plays Leeds next. Fulham. Sterling plays Fulham next, sorry. We've got Harry Kane and you know, De Bruyne playing against each other, but De Bruyne obviously performs very well in big games often, so maybe he's a good option. I just feel like over the next period, at least until game week 12, where Liverpool's fixtures do get a little bit better, and maybe we can think about captaining Salah again, there's not very much point in owning him. So, yeah, a big speech about Salah, and maybe, I'm not going to say, like, he's a definitive sell, and I have to be completely realistic. He will get points over this period of time. He will definitely get points. He's not going to blank. I mean, he is a good player. You know, if he was at, like, 10 million, we would be absolutely having Salah in our team. If he was 11 million, we would absolutely have Salah in our team. But for 13 million, maybe just that little bit too much, and maybe the opportunity cost of owning Salah may mean that he is a sell. So I'm not saying he's going to blank. I'm not saying he's going to do nothing. I'm saying that maybe you could find better value for money elsewhere. There we go. Sell Salah. Right, a Liverpool player who I would not be so willing to sell would be Alexander-Arnold. I would definitely be keeping him. I've constantly talked about the difference between Trent and Robertson in the fact that Trent, you know, he is creating a lot. Like, he's creating a decent amount and he's taking a lot of shots. They are from kind of distance, but he is taking, you know, a couple of shots per game as well, which is nice for a defender. And I also really like this next fixture. So even though, you know, the fixtures from game week 8 don't look great, and, you know, Wolves for an attacker, you know, we're not expecting Liverpool to score a bunch of goals against Wolves, but we would, at home, expect Liverpool to keep a clean sheet against Wolves. At least I would very much expect them to keep a clean sheet, because as bad as you want to, you know, as much smack as you want to talk about Liverpool's defence, they did keep a clean sheet against Everton, and Wolves, I would say, are a worse attack than Everton, and this game is also at home. So I think a lot kind of does allude to the fact that Liverpool will probably keep a clean sheet against Wolves. So that's why this week I would not be looking at selling Trent. I would not be looking at selling Robertson. After that, I think, yes, there is definitely, you know, there's options to sell Trent. I'm probably not going to sell him because I think he just offers so much in terms of the attacking potential there. You know, I feel like Trent has almost as much attacking potential as some of the similarly priced midfielders. And at the same time, we also get points for clean sheets. I think we were very unlucky not to for him to not get to 60 minutes. If he got to 60 minutes against Everton and he got the 6 points for the clean sheet, maybe even more if you include bonus points, then not as many people would be selling Trent. Not as many people would be selling him. Like that's the truth. But unfortunately, from a freak occurrence, something that really rarely happens, Trent comes off before the 60-minute mark, and he gets a 1-pointer. And on paper, that looks very bad. But if we're looking realistically, you know, he's still fairly creative. He's still fairly attacking, very attacking on set pieces. And Liverpool are keeping a couple of clean sheets. You know, they've kept 2 clean sheets in the past 3 game weeks. That's not too bad, really, is it? So overall, I think we can keep Trent. I think we can keep Robertson as well. But maybe after that, you can think about moving them on. Maybe. Jesus, I would also keep, at least for this game week, at least for game week 7 against Everton. I know a few of you guys are looking to get the likes of Tony or Mitrovic or, you know, maybe even Haaland. Maybe even Haaland if you haven't got him already. Or maybe Darwin Núñez. I don't know. You guys have probably got some different ideas of different players you'd like to remove Jesus on. And you're probably looking at the points of Jesus over the last few game weeks and kind of thinking, not quite as much as we were hoping for. But over the past 5 game weeks, he's got 3 goals and 3 assists. That's 6 returns in 5 game weeks. That's very, very good going. His underlying stats are matching this as well. You can see his XG on screen, his XA on screen, the amount of shots he's taken, the amount of key passes he's making. It all adds up. And Jesus is still very much the focal point, the absolute pinnacle of Arsenal's attack right now. So still a very, very good option to have in your FPL team, particularly for this game week against Everton. I think you can afford to keep him against Brentford. Maybe, you know, you could keep him forever, really. I think he's still a very good value for money, Jesus. But I would certainly wait at least until after this Everton game at home. Arsenal are going to bounce back from that Manchester United game. I think they played very well in that game, despite the fact that they lost the game. And Jesus is going to be, you know, the key to it all, as he always is. So don't look at his one-pointer too much, or any of his one-pointers. Like, he's playing well still. He is still playing well, and I think he will get some points against Everton. I would not be jumping right now to a Mitrovic or a Tony from Jesus at this moment. I mean, you could. It'd be a bit of a risk, but I don't think it's worth it, really. I mean, I'd rather, you know, upgrade that third attacking slot, that third forward slot, rather than remove Jesus, I think. Right, guys, get your pitchforks out. It's time for the avoids, the point in the video where everyone goes absolutely crazy at me in the comments section. But hear me out. Now, Antony is not a bad football player. I want to preface this because I know there are so many Manchester United fans that watch these videos, and every time I say maybe we should sell this Manchester United player or maybe we shouldn't get this Manchester United player, the pitchforks come out and everyone is furious. How dare you say that the Manchester United players are not the pinnacle of everything? I get that you're very excited about your new fidget spinner, new winger at Manchester United. Like, obviously, he's a very good player. He's a very exciting player, and for him to score in his debut is absolutely amazing. It really is really, really solid stuff. Like, you know, you should be excited as a Manchester United fan. And if you're picking your fantasy team based on vibes, based on excitement, based on fun, and you are a Manchester United fan, then Antony, what a player to pick. What a player to pick. Now, if I'm being sensible here, who are you going to pick? Antony at 7.5 million or Rashford at 6.5 million, I believe he is now. Who are you going to go for? Antony, 1 million more expensive than Rashford. Really? Like, Rashford is playing very well over a consistent period of time. We know that Rashford can score a lot of goals and can get a lot of assists and can be a very, very good FPL asset for a very, very cheap price. He's got that history behind him. So if you're going to go for one Manchester United kind of attacker, midfielder, then are you going to go for Antony? Probably not. You're probably going to go for Rashford, and I would even prefer Sancho. I believe Sancho is 7.3 million. Again, I'd rather go for Sancho than Antony. We've got this this next game, which is quite difficult. Crystal Palace away. I don't think it's an easy game for Manchester United, so I don't expect United to go there and score several goals. We've also got the fact that you know, we've got this Europa League game on Thursday against Real Sociedad. Is there going to be a bit of rotation? Manchester United do have a lot of attackers, a lot of forwards to pick from at the moment, so there may be a little bit of rotation, or at least a limited amount of minutes for certain players. And I wonder if Antony is going to make it to 60 minutes, maybe get subbed off earlier again. Is he even going to start the game? There's a possibility that there would be a bit of rotation in there. And I guess the final point is that Antony historically hasn't put up insane numbers that help us with FPL, and by that I mean goals and assists. So in the Eredivisie last season, yes, he did very well. Like, and please do not mistake this for me saying I think he's a bad player, because I don't. He's a very exciting player, and it's exciting to have these kind of players in the Premier League, absolutely. But he's not a player that scores like crazy amount of goals. He's not a player who makes a crazy amount of assists necessarily, and that's in the Eredivisie. That's in the Dutch league. So now he's coming over to the Premier League. Yes, he's got a goal in his first game. That's a 1-for-1 record, but am I thinking that he's going to continue that 1-for-1 record? Not necessarily. Would I be more tempted to get him in game week 8 potentially? You know, against Leeds at home? I think so. Yeah, I think I would be far more tempted to get him in game week 8 against Leeds. But against Crystal Palace away, would I rather get Antony or Rashford? If I'm going for a Manchester United attacker, who am I going to go for? I'll probably go for Rashford, first priority. I'll probably go for Sancho, second priority. And Antony would be third priority, despite the fact that he's the most expensive of the lot. So Yeah, maybe not, maybe not. And if you really do want to get Antony, maybe you can just wait one more game week. So that's kind of my logic there. It's not that he's a bad player, it's not that he's a bad pick, but I think there's better picks at his own team, within his own team that are, you know, less exciting because they're not new to the Premier League. Obviously, Antony is the shiny new toy, isn't he? But I just feel like Rashford is probably the right one to go for, isn't he? Oh, yeah. Roast me in the comments now. God. And let's upset some more people by saying avoid McAllister. So yeah, McAllister, I'm not feeling as an FPL pick. Like, I know that sounds so stupid because he's got so many FPL points, but looking at McAllister's, you know, the way he scored his goals, it's been 3 penalties in 6 game weeks. That's kind of rare for a team to get that many penalties. It really is. And the other goal was from a free kick. Now, a lot of people will say, okay, well, he's on penalties. Surely he's going to keep scoring penalties. Well, yeah, maybe, but I don't think Brighton will get a penalty every single game. And when we're looking at this fixture against Bournemouth, really, we're looking at open play. We want to get some attacking returns from open play from this one. A penalty is just as almost as likely to happen against Bournemouth as it is against Liverpool. So if you're really trying to target this Bournemouth fixture, we're not really looking for penalty goals. We're looking for open play goals because that's where Bournemouth have shown themselves to be vulnerable, right? So if we're looking for an open play player, McAllister is just not the guy. Now, I've watched every single Brighton game so far this season, all 90 minutes of every one, because, you know, I'm enjoying Brighton a lot at the moment, to be honest. I'm finding them very exciting, the way they're playing. And I have to say, McAllister is not a very attacking player. Like, his role is not to be attacking. He is a very deep, lying, creative player, I suppose. He's playing as a defensive midfielder, essentially, perhaps with a little bit more creativity, but he's not getting involved in the attacks. And when you look at his underlying stats, you can see on screen his expected goals are 2.52, and I think if you exclude the penalties, it's something like 0.2 or something like that. So really, all of his XG is being generated by those penalties, and his expected assists 0.2. He's only made 1 key pass this entire season. That's really not very much, is it? Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he's a terrible pick. I guess he's an okay pick because at least you do have those penalties. But when I look at this Bournemouth fixture, I want those open play goals. That's what I want. I want those open play attacking returns because that's where Bournemouth are vulnerable. Even, you know, set pieces. I know people will say, well, yeah, okay, maybe he's on penalties, but he's also on other set pieces. Isn't he like, you know, a cheap James Ward-Prowse? Not really. He's not actually on as many free kicks as people say. Like, obviously, he has taken some free kicks for Brighton, but, you know, but really the set piece takers are, I would say that Pascal Gross probably takes the majority of set pieces, if you include corners as well. We've also got Lewis Dunk, who takes some free kicks as well. It's not like McAllister is on all set pieces all the time. He takes some of them, but not all of them. Now, maybe he takes a few more after that free kick goal, but again, I have to say, you know, you really just are depending on penalties with this guy, which is unfortunate. But he's a defensive midfielder. What do you expect? It's essentially the same as picking someone like Jorginho. If you would choose Jorginho in your FPL team, then, okay, fair enough. Then you would probably pick McAllister too. But if you wouldn't pick Jorginho, you kind of have to ask yourself, why would you pick McAllister? So there you go. There's that one. And I know people are going to say, well, he's got points, so he's obviously good. Look, if you want to buy McAllister for Game Week 7, be my guest. But you don't have access to his Game Week 6 points. They're gone. You will never get those points. Like, unless you already owned McAllister, fair play if you did. But you don't have access to those points. They're a thing of the past. He has to get points in the future for you to get points for McAllister. His past points are largely irrelevant to your personal score. Like, that's the truth. Alright guys, in summary, yeah, like I say, a lot of people are thinking about playing their wildcard soon, so I think we can afford to make some short-term punts. I would especially look at targeting, you know, any attackers who are playing against Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, or Leicester as well, to be fair. Leicester play against Aston Villa this week, so maybe you're not going for Aston Villa attackers, but certainly, you know, your Brighton attackers, I would certainly like to go for a Trossard or a Gross ahead of a McAllister, for example, and, you know, maybe even a March would be in a similar situation to McAllister, because March's open play, you know, stats are really good, to be fair. I would also think about going for some Leeds players as well, maybe go for some Leeds players in attack, but yeah. If you are wildcarding soon, be fully prepared, be happy to play the short-term game, have some fun with it. We've got a few game weeks left until wildcard season, which is almost upon us, guys. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe as well if you're new around here. Do check out Fantasy Football Hub as well. I'll put a link down there in the description to their Opta Stats tools. These videos would not be possible without Fantasy Football Hub's Opta Stats tools, which are just so useful. So go check those ones out. And yeah, of course, check out FanSlide as well. But that's pretty much it for me today. We've got a 100 experts video coming up tomorrow. Back finally. I know a few of you guys are excited for that. But yeah, I'll see you on that one, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.